Fire, and I'm known online for doing video game things, but another thing I'm known online for is my giant figure shelf, which is in the background of pretty much all of my videos and my streams and all of that stuff. And a very common question I get is, Fire, what's on your damn shelf? So today I'm here to answer the question, what's on my damn shelf? A few prefaces about my collection for those who don't know anime figure collecting very well. I'm gonna say right off the bat, a lot of these are cheap, a few of these are fake, and in general, I don't know, I just pick characters that I like, not at all based on like value or longevity or anything else. This collection was assembled on vibes and a dream, so if you hate my collection, don't tell me that, okay? Thanks. So without further ado, let's do a little tour. So I've loved anime ever since I was introduced to it in middle school, and ever since I heard about anime, I heard about figure collecting. But I was a little too nervous to really start my figure collection until I actually moved out of my parents' house in 2020. Also, that way I was, more financially stable and I couldn't be judged by my parents. When I first got into anime, Fairy Tail was one of my favorites as far as like shonen go. So when I had decided to actually start my figure collection, Lucy felt like a really good place to start because I liked her so much as a character, I had such a strong connection to her, and also because she had a pop-up parade figure out. For those who don't know, pop-up parades are pretty cheap as far as like figures go, and starting my collection, I didn't want to start with a super expensive figure, just in case I ordered it and then realized I didn't care about figure collecting at all in reality, like just in theory. So pop-up parades tend to run a little cheaper than other figures, but also still maintaining their general like look and quality. So I went online, made my purchase, and then she arrived. This is Lucy Heartfilia from the anime/manga Fairy Tail, the final season. She is a pre-painted PVC and ABS scale figure. She's from the Pop-Up Parade line, manufactured by Good Smile Company. She's 170 millimeters tall, which is 6.63 inches. She was about $35 plus $5 shipping from the Crunchyroll online store, and I bought her on release in October 2020. So overall, I'm super pleased with this figure. I love her dynamic pose, and I think everything everyone said about the general quality of pop-up parades is really true. There's a really strong amount of details for the amount that you pay. The only real complaint I have about pop-up parade figures is the same complaint many collectors have, which is this base. The bases that they assign to these figures feels sometimes random. Like, you notice her whole color scheme here is yellow and blue, but they gave her this bright pink base for some reason that kind of conflicts in a weird way that I'm not a fan of. But in general, I'm really, really pleased with this figure, and when I got her in the mail, that's exactly how I felt. I was so impressed by her quality and her look, and I've had her sit on my desk every single day and just stared at her. So when she came and when I realized I enjoyed having her figure, it was all downhill from there, and it was time to start my collection officially. So she was my very first entry, definitely not my last. That's Lucy Heartfilia, baby. So I changed jobs a few times in 2020/2021, so it was a little while until I ordered my next figure. But when I did, it was kind of a big order. I think Crunchyroll was having like a big sale on their site, so I bought like 3 figures at one point in June. And she was the first of that order. So this is Belladonna from the American anime RWBY. At one point, RWBY was my favorite show in the entire world. Volumes 1 through 3 in particular, like, shaped me and defined me as a person. I was a really, really big fan of Monty Oum, rest in peace. I fell off the show after volume 4, but Blake was always my favorite character and just always held such a dear place in my heart. And when I saw her pop-up parade on sale, I had to get her, so I got her. This is Belladonna from the American anime RWBY. She's a pre-painted PVC and ABS scale figure. She's from the Pop-Up Parade line, manufactured by Good Smile Company. She's 170 millimeters tall, which is about 6.63 inches. She was $35 plus $5 shipping from the Crunchyroll online store, and I bought her in June of 2021. Honestly, this is probably one of my favorite pop-up parade figures just in general. I think there's an insane amount of detail for the price of like whatever, $30. Like these ribbons here, the way that they just like so dynamically pose around her without being like super breakable. The base, which is the right color for the rest of her, it's black and she's got a lot of black and white elements. Just everything about this figure is so well constructed for the price of a pop-up parade. I adore it. I think this is probably one of the best bangs for my buck as far as scale figures go. Even though I don't watch Ruby or don't care about Ruby at all anymore, I love Blake and I love this figure. In that same order with Blake, I also got Amaterasu from Okami. This is Amaterasu from the video game Okami. She's a pre-painted PVC and ABS scale figure. She's from the Pop-Up Parade line manufactured by Good Smile Company. She's 130 millimeters tall, which is about 5.07 inches. She was $35 plus $5 shipping from the Crunchyroll online store. And I bought her in June of 2021. This was my very first video game figure. And it just made a lot of sense to me because, you know, Okami. Look at her, oh my God. Literally, I love the details on like the fire and like her and the way she stands. She came with the ugliest green base imaginable. Why does Pop-Up Parade choose the worst bases? I wish I knew, but thankfully she stands just fine on her own without the base. So this is how I display her. She also came with a little Isan, like the little zippy fly guy that like is like, hey, listen, and like tells her what to do. I also don't like Isan, so I took him off. But with modifications, this is a really nice figure. Okay, listen, I really do like this figure. I really like Amaterasu. She's the sun goddess. She's got all these fire elements. I'm fire, so it just makes sense for me. And her general construction is wonderful. Sure, I removed a few elements, but like, look how sick she looks. I love her. Or another fun fact about her, besides the fact that she doesn't use her base, is she is technically also my only non-humanoid figure. And probably that's the way it's gonna stay. I haven't really seen many like animal figures that I'm a big fan of that I kind of want. Except for her, because she's a god and she's my goddess, and I pray every day to Amaterasu. Not really, but like I feel like I should. So, Ami, I love you. Good puppy, yes. Completely breaking the norm, we have Tatsumaki from One Punch Man. This is Senritsu no Tatsumaki from the anime and manga One Punch Man. She's a pre-painted PVC and ABS prize figure. She's from the Espresso line manufactured by Bandai Spirits, also known as Banpresto. She's 200 millimeters or 7.8 inches tall, and she was about $12 from the Crunchyroll online store. I bought her in June of 2021. This is actually my very first non-Pop-Up Parade figure. If you can believe it, I finally broke the mold. She came in that same sale as Amaterasu and Blake, and she was on sale for like $12 or something ridiculous. And I'm not the biggest fan of One Punch Man or even like her as a character, but like for $12, I couldn't say no. Especially because I really do like Esper characters and characters with telekinetic powers, which she is. So I was like, you know what? And I'm really impressed with her figure. For a non-Pop-Up Parade and for $12, I think her quality is like super awesome. Like her face and hair look so nice. She's got this cool dynamic pose. I think the only issue that I've got with her maybe is like her little side straps. You can clearly tell they were like glued on afterwards versus being like a connected part of the dress. But that's a tiny complaint. When she sits on a shelf, she looks just fine, and I'm a big fan of her. Fun fact, she is my tallest figure besides, you know, Madoka, the big one. And she's my first prize figure, which if you don't know, prize figures are more mass distributed and they tend to be a little bit cheaper than scales. But like, also, I don't know, some prize figures look like scales to me. The lines are a little blurry, but the point is, she looks good for her price, right? Right? Yeah, that's what I think. Back to Pop-Up Parades and back to Fairy Tail, we have Erza Scarlet from Fairy Tail. This is Erza Scarlet in her Demon Blade Yarizakura form. She's from the anime or manga Fairy Tail, the final season. She's a pre-painted PVC and ABS scale figure from the Pop-Up Parade line manufactured by Good Smile Company. She's 170 millimeters or 6.63 inches tall. She was about $35 plus $5 shipping from the Good Smile online store, and I bought her on release in May 2022. So Erza was another one of my favorite characters from Fairy Tail, and she's had a lot of figures released over the years, but I was never really a fan of a lot of them, particularly because Erza, like all women in Fairy Tail, get like way over-sexualized. So a lot of her figures were either like too sexual or too expensive or just like not quite what I was looking for, until Good Smile announced that they were making this version of her. So this is Erza in her Yarizakura outfit, which I know if you look at it just she looks hypersexualized, but like that's not the point, okay? If you watch the anime, it's got an in-reason lore about it. Basically, it's like she like sheds all her armor that she normally wears in favor of going completely on the offensive. And I know technically it's just an excuse to have her dress skimpy, but like, I don't know, I really, really like this outfit. Like with the flames and everything, and the way the red elements from her pants match her hair. And she's got these two sick-ass swords. I've always adored this outfit. So when this figure got announced, I was like, this is it. This is the Ezra figure that I'm finally gonna get. Especially because, again, it's Pop-Up Parade, so it was only like $35, and that's awesome. That's such a steal. I will say, though, that this is probably going to be my last Fairy Tail figure. I liked Fairy Tail a lot, you know, early high school, middle school, not so much anymore. And now that I have both Ezra and Lucy, I feel like I have both of my two favorite characters. Kind of good to stop here. But I'm happy I own them. I'm happy they're in my collection. Next, we have none other than the cultural icon herself, Hatsune Miku.
This is the Hatsune Miku villain color variation noodle stopper. Hatsune Miku is an internet icon, but she's technically based on the voice synthesizer Vocaloid. She's their mascot. She's a pre-painted PVC and ABS noodle stopper prize figure. She's from the Pioparo character line, manufactured by Furyu. She's 130 millimeters or 5.07 inches tall. She was about $15 plus $5 shipping from Good Smile online store, and I bought her in September of 2022.
So Miku is obviously an extremely popular character, and she's extremely popular in the figure collecting world. People can and have built entire collections just with Miku figures. So getting into figure collecting, I knew I had to hold myself back to prevent myself from having an entire group of just Mikus. And for a while I was going back and forth between which one to get and kind of where to start with that, until I found this Miku. So obviously this Miku is demon themed, and at this point I'd pretty much decided that like my online persona was going to be a demon. So it made so much sense. Not to mention she's a noodle stopper figure, which is why she's doing this cute little like sitting pose, and only $15. So cheap. So for those who don't know, noodle stoppers as figures were technically designed to like sit on the lid of your instant noodles to prevent the top from coming up and to keep the steam down to finish cooking your noodles. But nobody uses them like that. She, for me, sits on the edge of my shelf where I can look at her and admire her every day, because look at how cute she is. Look at how good this pose is. She's got her two little like twin tails here. She's got these dope ass demon horns and this tail, hello. It's almost like dragon-like in a way. And like the dark black and purple and blue, the little like broken heart here. I literally adore it. There's another color variation where it's like this outfit in red, but I don't know. With the teal blue hair, I think she works a lot better in black and purple, and I'm a really, really big fan of this figure. And as you'll see, I was such a big fan of it that I also bought more Miku noodle stoppers. But we'll talk about that in a sec. One sec has come, and it's another Miku. So after my first Miku noodle stopper, I was so impressed with her like overall like quality and her durability and how cute she looked and how cheap she was that I immediately went out and got another one. And here she is.
This is the Hatsune Miku Koisuru Sailor Fuku Noodle Stopper. Once again, this is from the voice synthesizer Vocaloid. She's a pre-painted ATBC PVC noodle stopper prize figure. She's from the Pioparo character line, manufactured by Furyu. She's 130 millimeters tall, or about 5.07 inches. She was $20 plus $5 shipping from the Good Smile online store, and I bought her in January of 2023.
So this is kind of the opposite side of my aesthetic. So the demon dark emo aesthetic is kind of captured on the first one. And then here, this Miku, she's got like the pink, the pastel, the cutesy, I love her. This outfit is just to die for. Everything about it, the little like band-aids, the wings on the feet, her cute like face and her whole look. I adore this Miku, I really do. The only downside with this figure is that Furyu recently released a new version of this same like outfit and model that's a lot cuter and honestly has like a much cooler pose, which I would love and want if not for the fact that I already own this one. So it's a little hard looking at her sometimes knowing that there's a better version out there, but I still love her, and I still love her on my shelf. So I've always been a big fan of Danganronpa, and in 2021, I replayed the Danganronpa games with my friend AK on his stream. And because we could, and because we were bored, we voice acted the whole thing, you know. And one of the characters that I was primarily voice acting was Kyoko Kirigiri. Something that happens during that little session we did is while I was voice acting her, we had a lot of different people who came into stream and said, hey, you sound a lot like Kyoko. So I personally don't count myself as much of an impressionist. That's straight up not something I do. But everyone was like really, really flattering about how much I like sounded and like felt like her. And because of that, I don't know, it just like made me feel a lot closer to her as a character. And she went from like a character I kind of like to like, I love her. So she had a few figures out at that time, but all of them were like a little too expensive for like my tastes. And like they just like weren't really what I was looking for, so I kind of skipped them by. But then Danganronpa 1-2 Reload came out, which is like kind of like a remaster of the original games. And with the release of the Reload, they came out with new figures. So when her pop-up parade got announced, I bought it.
This is Kyoko Kirigiri from the video game Danganronpa 1-2 Reload. She's a pre-painted plastic scale figure from the Pop-Up Parade line manufactured by Fat Company. She's 170 millimeters or 6.63 inches tall. She was about $35 plus $5 shipping from the Good Smile online store, and I bought her on release in January of 2023.
In general, I love it. It's a very simple pose and a very simple like look actually for her. It's literally just like her with her hair down and like her little sassy pose. And Pop-Up Parade did do that thing where they gave her like this atrocious pink base, despite the fact that the rest of her is like dark blue and purple and white. So I don't know why they did that, but besides that, I still really like this figure, and every time I look at it, it reminds me of that playthrough I did with AK. So for nostalgia purposes, I'm a big fan. Gotta immediately preface this, she's a knockoff. So Twilight Sparkle was always one of my very favorite characters in general and from My Little Pony, but this figure of her was like $200 on most sites, and I didn't really feel comfortable paying that, especially for a character from like a kid's show. And then also a lot of the versions of this figure is her with like purple skin, which I wasn't a fan of. And just in general, I couldn't justify buying the version of this figure that was like the full real version of $200. And I kind of resolved myself to be like, oh, that's a cute figure, but like never own it and never buy it. Until one day I was shopping on AliExpress and I saw a listing for this figure for like $20. And I knew immediately it wasn't going to be real, it was a counterfeit. But from the pictures I was seeing from the counterfeit, it looked pretty good. So I bought it, and this is it.
This is Twilight Sparkle, and before I get into details on this figure, I'm going to be transparent up front. This is a counterfeit, which I ordered intentionally. She is from the cartoon My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. The original statue is a pre-painted Bishoujo statue from the My Little Pony Bishoujo series manufactured by Kotobukiya. She stands 125 millimeters or 8.39 inches tall. She was about $20 plus $5 shipping from AliExpress, although the actual statue retails around $130. And I bought her in January of 2023.
So I've got a lot of mixed feelings about this figure. It's very good for a counterfeit in that like it's got all the right colors, all the right looks, everything is like nice and legible, but also it has its issues. So there's a lot of little like nicks on like the color and the paint, which again, you can't see it from far away, but when you get close, you can really notice it. And then also a big thing, if you see me death gripping her right here, she doesn't stay on her base super well. Her main figure can be like jammed in there, but Twilight Sparkle does not fit in at all. So she is the kind of figure that needs to sit there, looked at from a distance, and not be moved at all to be appreciated. Which I suppose is kind of my fault and what I get for ordering off-brand. But I'm happy I have her in this form because I wouldn't have paid full price for her. But also some days she annoys me because of the fact that she just does not cooperate. Speaking of counterfeits, this is also a counterfeit.
This is Paimon from the video game Genshin Impact. She's a pre-painted PVC and ABS 1/7 scale figure. She was manufactured by Apex Innovation. She stands around 140 millimeters or 5.46 inches tall. She was $3 from AliExpress, although the actual statue retails around $75, and I bought her in January of 2023.
Paimon I got in the same AliExpress order as I did that Twilight Sparkle, and literally the only reason I bought her is that she was $3. The original version of this figure costs $60, and I didn't like Paimon enough as a character to really justify that purchase at all. But when I saw this $3 figure, I kind of was like curious if it would even come at all, because that just sounds ridiculous. But she did come, and she's, you know, mostly okay. She came to be broken. This crown at the top, like, just straight up wasn't attached at all. And she's pretty wobbly on her stand. But for $3, I think she looks pretty good. And she's kind of a nice shout out to Genshin, given how much I play Genshin. But I don't particularly feel bad for buying her knockoff, specifically because Genshin is a free-to-play game that I have already given too much money. I deserve to steal back from them a little bit, okay? Also, in case it wasn't obvious, at $3, she's the cheapest figure I own. And the one I care about the least. Although I was generally a fan of Good Smile's collection of figures, I did at this point kind of want to start exploring other means and places to get figures, which is partially why I made those AliExpress orders. But I also wanted to try another, like, official figure company. And another company I heard a lot of collectors talking about was Ami Ami. So as a test of Ami Ami, I made my first purchase from them. And here she is.
This is Yarizakura Hime from the anime/manga Yozakura Quartet. She's a pre-painted PVC 1/8 scale figure manufactured by Kotobukiya. She's 195 millimeters or 7.61 inches tall. She was $23 plus $10 shipping pre-owned from Ami Ami. She originally retails around $46, and I bought her in March of 2023.
So not only is she my first purchase from Ami Ami, she is also my first pre-owned figure. Technically, every figure besides the knockoffs that I've bought has been like brand new, pre-ordered, just because I wanted the quality. But I was curious what the step down in quality would be for pre-owned, and also, I don't know, just how Ami Ami's general service was. And I was thoroughly impressed with both. I think this is a great figure. She's one of those figures that nobody knows what she's from, but I still love her. She's got one of these like atrocious faces that's like so pink and doesn't match her color, much like the pop-up parades, but I give her a pass because it's like the Sakura flower, and I don't know, it looks really fancy. At the moment, she's still technically my only figure from Ami Ami, but in the future, I'm excited to buy more from them. Though at this point, I'd pretty much only been buying scale figures and some prize figures. Another figure I heard a lot of collectors being really into were Nendoroids. But Nendoroids were like posable and dolls and smaller, so it wasn't really something I was super interested in at first. I changed my mind when one of my favorite video games, Valhalla, decided to release figures in the Nendoroid line and not in the scale figure line. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And I bought my first Nendoroid.
This is Jill Stingray from the video game Valhalla Cyberpunk Bartender Action. She's a pre-painted plastic doll figure. Specifically, she's Nendoroid number 1970, manufactured by Good Smile Company. She's about 100 millimeters or 3.9 inches tall. She was $55 plus $5 shipping from Good Smile Company online store. And I bought her in May of 2023.
When it first came in, I was immediately taken aback by its size. She's so much shorter than every other figure I own. It was a little like surprising at first. And also with her posable elements, I was like really worried about like manhandling her and taking her apart and putting her back together. Thankfully, they make these pretty sturdy, and also it's kind of fun to be able to like choose exactly what your figure looks like. So she had a few different pieces, but I specifically went with her like happy little drunk face, and I gave her this cute little martini that she's holding. I love her. I really love Jill. And honestly, I'm happy that they released the figure in this form because it broke my streak of being afraid of posable figures, and I'm really happy that I own her. I will say if I had to choose, I think I still prefer scale figures and prize figures, but I'm willing to branch into posable on occasion. This next figure is unfortunately also a counterfeit. Unfortunate, because I didn't know that when I ordered her.
This is Hatsune Miku, once again from the voice synthesizer Vocaloid. She's a pre-painted PVC noodle stopper prize figure from the Piaparo character line manufactured by Furyu. She's 130 millimeters or 5.07 inches tall. She was gifted to me, although technically she cost around $26 plus $5 shipping from Solaris Japan via Throne. And I bought her in June of 2023.
So in early 2023, as I was starting my streaming career, I set up a Throne account for my viewers to be able to purchase me gifts if they so desired. And one of the gifts as an option that I put on there was another Hatsune Miku noodle stopper to add to my now growing collection. So when a friend of mine ordered it from there, thank you Zombie, I was super excited to have her come in the mail. Unfortunately, when she arrived, I learned she's a counterfeit. In general, she looks pretty good and she like hits most of the marks for like the colors and the posing and everything, but you can tell she's a counterfeit mostly because of her hair. She's supposed to be holding her hair like in a particular way in both of her hands in like this cute posy way, but her hair does not fit in her hands at all. And that's when I realized, oh, she's not exactly like legit. I'm a little disappointed with the fact that she came as a knockoff because again, if you're gonna get a knockoff, it's nice to get it when you know that you're paying knockoff prices and you're aware of the fact that you're buying it. I thought she was gonna come real, but at the same time, I already have knockoffs in my collection, so I can't really hate the fact that she exists like this. And also she looks pretty good, so I'm keeping her. She's in my collection, but because I was deceived, not one of my favorites. Chiaki was always my favorite character from the Danganronpa series by far. And the moment I started collecting figures, I started looking for a figure of her. But the thing was, a lot of her figures were either like expensive or like weirdly posed or just like not what I was looking for in general. So I held off. It was actually just about the point that I was like ready to settle for one of her figures that I didn't love that Danganronpa 1-2 Reload got announced and she got a new figure. So literally the microsecond that pre-orders opened, I got her, and I love her.
This is Chiaki Nanami hoodie version. She's from the video game Danganronpa 1-2 Reload. She's a pre-painted plastic scale figure. She's from the pop-up Parade line produced by Fat Company and manufactured by Good Smile Company. She's 160 millimeters or 6.24 inches tall. She was $40 plus $5 shipping from the Good Smile online store, and I bought her on release in December of 2023.
Look at how cute she is, oh my god. She's got the pink and she's got Nanami and she's a gamer, so she's holding a little gamer thing and she's so posed. And they gave her the pink base that for some reason they give all of the girls, but like, it actually fits her because she's pink. The only thing that I have potentially mixed feelings on with this figure is that she's wearing a pink and white Nanami hoodie to match Nanami instead of her like standard hoodie look. And I'm not exactly sure which one I like better and prefer. For this figure, with her with Nanami here, I think it works. But in general, if you like held me at gunpoint, was like, pick an outfit for her, not sure which one I prefer. But this figure is so cute, I love her. I'm so happy to have her in my collection. And she sits right next to Kyoko, as she deserves. Which, by the way, if any figure making people are out there listening, please reload Danganronpa V3 and release a Maki Harukawa figure so I can complete my Danganronpa girl collection of my favorite characters. From the bottom of my heart, please make it. Either way, Chiaki, I love her. And I love her so much, she gets a second figure. That's right, baby. She got a Nendoroid too. They actually released this Nendoroid for the exact same reason they released that scale figure of her, which was Danganronpa 1-2 Reload. And I was like, sure, I already got the scale figure, but like, Nendoroid, look at her.
This is once again Chiaki Nanami from the video game Danganronpa 1-2 Reload. She's a pre-painted plastic doll figure. Specifically, she's Nendoroid number 2227, manufactured by Good Smile Company. She's 100 millimeters or 3.9 inches tall. She was $55 plus $5 shipping from the Good Smile Company online store, and I bought her on release in December of 2023.
She's so cute and posable, and she's got that original jacket that I was talking about. Ugh, I love her. She is my daughter, she is me, she is everything to me. I don't care if I already had another figure of her, I need this one too. And this one means so much to me, it literally doesn't even sit on my figure shelf, it sits on my desk. So I can stare at her every single day. She's the ultimate gamer, I'm the ultimate gamer, she was made for me, she's perfect. I love you, Chiaki. Hey, so remember when I was like, there's so many Miku figures in the world that I have to restrain myself, and I'm restraining myself to only the Hatsune Miku noodle stoppers? That was the plan. But one day in like January, I went to like my local hobby shop and they had a few figures there, most of which didn't really catch my eye. But then I saw one that I was weak for, and it was Hatsune Miku. I had seen this Miku figure online before, but I was like, she's really cute, but I don't need her. And she's like, you know, 40 whatever dollars plus shipping, and I already have other Mikus. I don't need her, whatever. All of these justifications. And then when I saw her in person in this hobby shop, I couldn't hold myself back. I broke down. She was only $30 too, and I bought her and I adore her.
This is the Hatsune Miku fashion subculture figure, once again from the Vocaloid voice synthesizer. She's a pre-painted ABS ATBC PVC prize figure. She's from the Pioparo character line manufactured by Taito. She's 180 millimeters or 7.02 inches tall, and I got her for around $30 from a local hobby shop. I bought her in December of 2023.
So cute. Her entire outfit is amazing. I love the way her hair does that little like fade to pink thing. She's such an icon. Her base is one of my favorite bases ever, with like the black and pink lace. It so perfectly complements her outfit, and she's just so cute. And there's a small chance she's a knockoff. Maybe, I don't think so. There are knockoff versions of these figures that exist, and hobby shops tends to have more knockoffs than official licensed sites that you can buy from. I think she's real. There's nothing about her that indicates that she's a knockoff. I'm not an expert though. And if she's a knockoff, she's so cute. I genuinely don't care. I love her. She's $30 for her. I love her. But this does mean I broke my my Miku streaku of only buying Miku noodle stoppers. So maybe I'll buy more Mikus in the future. Hatsune Miku will one day take over my collection, and she's one day gonna take over the world. Calling it now. Speaking of impulse purchases, Rebecca from Cyberpunk 2077 Edgerunners. The pre-orders for Rebecca's Nendoroid went live like the moment I finished watching Cyberpunk. So I could not hold myself back, and I bought her immediately, and before I had time to regret her, she was at my door.
This is Rebecca from the anime Cyberpunk Edgerunners. She's a pre-painted ABS PVC doll figure. Specifically, she's Nendoroid number 2186, manufactured by Good Smile Company. She's around 100 millimeters or 3.9 inches tall. She was $55 plus $5 shipping from the Good Smile Company online store, and I bought her on release in February of 2024.
I'll be honest, Good Smile actually simultaneously released a scale figure of her as well as the Nendoroid, but for the first time, I actually preferred the Nendoroid to the scale figure. I just think Rebecca as a character works so much better in chibi with her like giant face and like her big ass smile. I love Rebecca dearly, and I think she really complements Jill well on my like cyberpunk emo girls shelf. Also, she looks like Hatsune Miku. Miku is taking over the world. And now for the grand finale. The final figure in my collection, the newest figure in my collection that I got like 2 days ago. We have Ultimate Madoka.
This is Ultimate Madoka from the anime/manga Puella Magi Madoka Magica. She's a pre-painted ABS PVC 1/8 scale figure manufactured by Good Smile Company. She stands around 330 millimeters or 12.87 inches tall. She was $185 plus $5 shipping from the Good Smile Company online store. She was originally released in December 2012 and then re-released February 2024 to celebrate the new movie.
This figure was the very first figure I have ever wanted. It originally released in 2012, back, when Madoka Magica was first premiering and was super popular. And I fell in love immediately. This was the very first thing I ever wanted. But the problem was, in 2012, I was like 14. I didn't have the money for her. I didn't have the space for her. It was not ever something that was gonna happen. But I loved her dearly. I wanted her so much. So the moment I started figure collecting in 2020, she was one of the first figures I looked into getting. But the problem was, by the time 2020 was around, her figure was off the main market and was mostly being sold secondhand, which would be fine and something I would be willing to take a risk on, except there was a lot of talk about how fragile this figure was. Particularly her bow and her arrow tends to break very, very easily. And most of the figures I was seeing, there was either like $400 for the full thing intact or like $60 for it broken. And with a figure I cared about this much, I wanted her in perfect condition. So I would not accept anything less than the best. So I looked around for a while for the right seller, the right figure, the right version of this. But nothing was really what I wanted out of it, so I was like really hesitant. And then I got lucky. After 12 years, they released a new Madoka Magica movie. And to celebrate the new movie, they re-ran this figure. It was more expensive than their first run. I believe on first run, it was like $140. And this run, it was $180. But I didn't care. The possibility of getting this figure, my absolute dream figure, in perfect condition, direct from seller, was all I needed. I slammed my money on the table, especially because I could finally afford a figure like this. Like, even when I started my collection in 2020s, whatever, I still didn't have a ton of cash capital on hand. I really had a budget to be able to add even these cheap figures to my collection. But I'm finally in a place where I feel comfortable spending $200 on a figure. And I did, and she's here. And she's everything I ever wanted her to be. She's beautiful, she's gorgeous. She was a bitch to assemble. Oh my god, I didn't realize how hard it was to assemble these big figures because I've never had one this big and this complicated before, but she took forever to figure out. And like all these little pieces, it was so hard to clip into place, but she's perfect. She's beautiful. I love her. I would literally die for her. She's the only figure I'm grabbing in a fire. The rest I could replace. But not her. And I know I'm not the only one who feels this way because she's literally like the #1 most popular figure on like the figure collecting site I use. But I don't care. I don't care that other people have her. I don't care that she means a lot to a lot of people. She means a lot to me. This is my dream figure and I finally have her. After all of these years, I adore her. She is very clearly the biggest figure in my collection and the most expensive. And I don't know, I think I'm gonna keep it that way. I've never been a big fan of those like huge, giant, expensive figures that like some collectors blow all their money on. It just like, I don't know, it was never really my thing. Except for her. Girl, it's like Paramore said, she's the only exception. So, honestly, low-key, with her, I'm ready to retire. Not like from work, but like figure collecting. She's everything I want. She's perfect. This is the end. I'm never gonna best this. Nothing will ever best this. Honestly, that she's part of the reason I made this video now, because like after this, I've reached the peak. I can only go downhill from here. Ultimate Madoka, baby. My love, my dream. Holy shit. That's it. That's my figure collection. At current, there's only like one more figure that I actually have my eye on. And even then it's still in like the draft phase, so it's gonna be a while until I can actually add it to my shelf. But honestly, I think I might stop figure collecting for a bit. Like, I feel comfortable with the size of this collection and how it fits in my room and everything. Although I'm sure, knowing me, one day I'll like find another figure that I love in a hobby shop and then my will break down and then I will be overwhelmed by Miku's, most likely. It's always Miku. But of course, for the moment you've all been waiting for, the question I'm sure has been on everyone's mind since the beginning. How much did I spend on my collection? I did the math. If you didn't, don't worry, I'm here for you, babe. And my total price for my entire collection is $794. So if you divide that by the 3.5 years I've been collecting, that is about $226 per year. Which on one hand isn't that bad, especially compared to some collectors, but also it's just plastic. Why did I do that? Anyways, thank you so much for watching until the end. I hope you enjoyed this figure tour. It took me a while to write, film, draft, script, and research this video. So leave a like if you made it, I guess. If you'd like to view a full catalog of my collection, including a few other like plushies and amiibos and stuff that I didn't feature here, myfigurecollection.net has my full collection listed out, link in the description below. Anyways, gamers, I'll either see you never again, or I'll see you in a few years when inevitably my collection grows again. Anyway, see you in the next vlog. Bye, gamers.